would have died, and I would have missed all of this. And it just, blows my mind. I'm also involved in service work, so I go into the women's prison in Milwaukee on Friday nights, usually 2 to 3 times a month, and I get to talk with the women there and just sort of let them tell me about their lives and their struggles and the things that they're afraid of, and we get to talk about, what's going to happen when they are released from prison and things that they can do to stay on the right path, and it's really inspiring. And it keeps me grounded. I'm reminded of where I could end up.
Exactly.
It just takes one bad decision and I could be right there with them. I'm not immune to it now. So it's pretty cool to be able to go in there and share my story and go into treatment centers and share my story, because I've been there, and I can look in their faces and I know how they feel.
And it does those dark places.
Yeah, and it gets better, and it's pretty cool to be able to show people that change can happen.
Yeah, today you're a wife, you're a mother, you're a good coworker, employee, a friend. Those things I'm sure wouldn't have happened if you would have continued on the path that you were going. So it's
absolutely not.
Just a blessing. What does recovery mean to you? Isn't that a trick question?
You're trying to bust me out here.
I know.
For me, it's just living, it's actually living my life and enjoying my life. I can tell you, I can tell you when I was sick and I was using, I wouldn't even wake up in the morning to enjoy the sunrise or take my dog for a walk or help my daughter pick out clothes, or I get up and I can complain about being tired some days today, but I notice colors outside, and I can appreciate that I can drive a car to work. I can appreciate that I own my own house. And sometimes I walk into I drive into my driveway and I park my car in the garage and I'm parked next to my husband's car, and I can't believe that this is our life, this is the real deal. And recovery taught me how to trust again. I didn't have trust in anybody when I came into recovery, especially women. And women in the program are the ones who have helped me stay clean. And they've become my best friends. They're really like sisters to me. And they taught me how to trust through their own actions, by inviting me out to have coffee. And then while at coffee, they're not talking about other women. They're talking about themselves and how to better their own lives and things that we can do to help better our lives. And it's not that catty gossip that I just expected from women, So for me, it's brought me an entirely new family that I just don't even know where my life would be without those women today,
Me too. It just makes your life so full. I couldn't imagine going out living without the women in recovery. One, from teaching me, and two, just being able to call them and having someone to talk to, or having that ear to listen to for me and for them.
And you watch these women go through some really tough stuff, and they go through it clean, and
they come out the other side even better.
And they show you that it's possible to get through deaths and, loss of jobs and, homelessness even. That can still happen in recovery, and they show you that you can still get through all those things clean. It's really inspiring.
When they talk about it's not all rainbows and unicorns and butterflies, that they're able to get through it and come out even better on the other side. Let's see, what is the funnest part of being in recovery?
Oh my gosh, I haven't laughed so hard in the longest time.
Even from you just coming over before we even started this.
I know, I was like, Holly, all right, we gotta get serious here.
Are we doing this today, or are we just gonna sit and talk and laugh?
I just remember, when I was sick, I just had no joy. There was just no joy in my life. And I remember, I would tell my husband, I just felt I would call it, my zombie mood. Where I was just a flat line.
No feelings.
Yeah, none at all. And I struggled with that when I first got sober. I had so many emotions running through me that I had just... had numbed them for so long that I was just like all over the place. I couldn't tell if I was crying because I was happy or sad. I couldn't tell if I was angry or if I was depressed. Like I just couldn't, decipher what was going on. I felt like I was crazy. But now that I'm at a point where I can, I've been healing and, my brain is sort of coming back now. I just, I can find humor in almost anything. And it feels good to laugh and, the belly laughs, where you're just happy. And I can laugh about some of the things that I did in the past now, too, because I know normal people don't act the way that I did, but I was so convinced that that was normal. So for me, it's kind of like, wow, you really were sick. You had no clue, when we shared a room together at a sober living and we were we had so much fun. And then where my brain took me to just go, it was that curious little and then, no matter how many times I'd failed at doing it in the past, no matter how many treatments I had gone to, that just wasn't enough to prove to me that I was an addict. I just had to go
learn the hard way.
Yeah, I just had to keep digging, and thank God I finally put down that shovel because, man, it's getting bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had a lot of fun watching Forensic Files.
Forensic Files, I would make you watch it. I made you watch marathons with me.
Yep.
You're like, wow, this is really morbid.
I guess that's what we're watching. Again.
And again. Oh, it was fun.
Mm-hmm. We would laugh a lot. So tell me one random thing about you.
Random.
I know I asked this question to Neil, and I said I hate when people ask me this question, but that's what I have written down.
Random.
Even though I just told you just told me your whole life story.
Yeah, you're welcome.
It's pretty random.
Try not to judge me. No, for some reason, okay, and I don't know where this came from, but I get the colors green and orange mixed up all the time when I'm talking. I'll be like, it's the orange sign over there. And they'll be like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, oh, the green sign. Sorry. I don't know if that's a result of my heavy drinking or if someone played a trick on me as a child.
You watched the wrong Sesame Street episode.
Yeah, I must have.
That wasn't for children.
Right.
That's funny. So the topic that we have today is about complacency. And then I looked up some definitions of complacency. Some of them that I found. I have a complacent person is very pleased with themselves or feels that they do not need to do anything about a situation, even though the situation may be uncertain or dangerous. Then I have another definition, feeling so satisfied with your own abilities or situation that you feel you do not need to try any harder. And then also one other definition, showing smudge or uncritical satisfaction with oneself or one's achievements. So I can definitely relate to being complacent. And what I have here in my notes when it's talking about being complacent and talking about the signs of being complacent in your recovery, it's talking about you stop going to meetings and taking suggestions and you don't help others. And Vanessa, what you were saying earlier, you get easily irritated. And I can relate to that when you wake up and all of a sudden all your daily activities and going to work is just such a burden. When on the flip side, like you were saying, it's just so grateful that I'm able to do these things and I'm able to have a job or I'm able to have people in my life that have to show up to a birthday party or I'm able, even the fact that they're inviting me. Mm-hmm. There's a time in my addiction where people didn't invite me to their kids' birthday parties or whatever it was. I was invited to Christmas and stuff, but sometimes I was in jail and I couldn't even come to Christmas. Mm-hmm. And now I'm easily irritated that I have to show up to these family events or go to work when on the flip side I should be grateful for it because it's what recovery has given me. It blessed me with it. Another thing I read in here, I'm not sure where in my notes it's where I printed it off, but it's talking about how people who are not in recovery, it's harder for them to relate to being complacent because they don't have to have a program like we do every day. You know?
I find that when I'm meeting things with a lot of resistance, like that's when I have to step back and check myself, because I have to ask myself, why is it that I'm so resistant to the things that have kept me healthy this entire time? And it all comes back to, I think, like ego, like thinking I've got this. Like, now I know. And that's exactly what I used to say right before I would relapse, right? Like, I know what I'm doing. I don't need to be doing these things every day. But guess what? I do. I do need to be putting my recovery first every day. Because the second I don't, it does not take me long to fall. And I fall hard.
Yeah, and even if it's not relapsing right away, it's going to come out for me in other areas. Like, I can become a workaholic, or I can become a shopaholic, or just completely irritated with everything.
And then we take it out on the people we love. You know, if I become irritable, the first people in my line of fire are my husband, or I become short with my daughter, or I become frustrated at work easily, and you know, coworkers could notice that. And these are things that, like, a healthy Vanessa is not irritated easily. You know, I'm usually pretty content with my life. But when I become complacent, everything, it just all starts to crumble.
Everything is such a burden. Another one on here, it said you don't help others. You don't appreciate gifts of sobriety. You stop seeking spirituality, and then you think you are cured.
It's a big one.
Basically, when I'm complacent and I'm doing all those unhealthy behaviors, it just robs me of, like, the present and my serenity. And we were talking about this a little earlier. I can't rely on what I did yesterday for what's going to help me today in my program to better myself. You know, I get on this thing where I think I'm good, or I'm okay, I'm doing pretty good, I'm doing everything I need to do, and then life happens, and those same things that I slowly stop doing aren't going to always be there to help me, if that makes any sense. I have to continue to sometimes not always just continuing what I'm doing, but changing that too. So once I'm doing the same thing over and over, it's habit. Everything becomes a habit. Sometimes I need to reach out to someone that I normally don't reach out to, or go to a self-help group that I normally don't go to, and not keeping it the same all the time.
And the way I look at it is, you know, I have an illness, and it's a chronic illness. And so recovery isn't just like something I can do when I feel like I need it. You know, recovery is something I have to do every single day. It's a lifelong commitment. And so I need to remember that, like, recovery and these things that, like, I can be resistant to, like the peer groups and reading, like, different literature and reaching out to other addicts, like, that's my medicine. You know, like, those are the things I need to survive in this life that I've chosen in recovery, you know? So the moment I stop doing those things, I come out of remission, and my addict is active again.
Definitely for me too, and then it comes out in different areas. I always need to stay grateful. So, and then we also have a reading that is out of, let's see what book it is. It's from the Book of Awakening. It's called Stepping Out of Fear. Vanessa, if you want to read the reading, if you would do the honor.
Sure.
Since you are the guest we have.
Yay, thanks for having me.
I know, I'm so happy that you came.
So August 10th, Stepping Out of Fear. I will always have fears, but I need not be my fears, for I have other places within myself from which to speak and act. Parker J. Palmer. No feelings take over our lives more suddenly or more completely than fear. It seems to come up from nowhere, and in a blink or swallow can affect everything. The blind Frenchman Jacques I'm so sorry, describes how fear was the only thing that truly prevented him from seeing. Still, there were times when the light faded, almost to the point of disappearing. It happened every time I was afraid. If instead of letting myself be carried along by confidence and throwing myself into things, I hesitated, calculated, thought about the wall, the half